adding the hard solar panel to my vehicle was a game changer. It was life-changing for my nomadic experience. So if you can do that and you're just starting out, I recommend putting the time and energy and money into it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our next video. I'm Bob.
I'm Autumn.
And today we're talking about 5 ways to recharge your solar power system in van life.
You know, I gotta tell you, Bob, power has been the most difficult part of the nomadic life for me. I work full-time as a digital nomad, and working in tiny rigs with big power needs has been especially tricky. I've been on the road for 3.5 years, and just in the last 6 months, I got the power situation figured out, finally.
Yeah, it's not nearly as simple as it sounds. When you work full-time, you have much higher power needs. For one thing, you have Starlink.
Yes.
And Starlink's a real power hog. So if any of you are running Starlink, you are wondering, how am I going to go on the road, power Starlink and everything else, all the other devices I need? And so we're going to have answers. Now, there's no one answer for everybody, right? I mean, a lot of you aren't going to be working on the road, so your needs aren't nearly as extensive as ours.
Truly your lifestyle, so everything from if you're working full-time, part-time, and if your work is digital and remote, that's going to determine your power needs. If you are part-time and say don't have a 12-volt fridge, you're going to have lower power needs. But if you're full-time and you do have a 12-volt fridge, you're going to have higher power needs. I really like to stay in colder climates, and so I do use a 12-volt blanket. I have an entire power station just for my 12-volt blanket. So your lifestyle, your comfort level, your different needs are all going to determine how much power you need, which is also going to impact your recharging needs. We're going to present 5 different options for you that can help you basically find the right power recharging for you.
So by far the best choice for the most people is to mount a hard solar panel, a hard framed solar panel on the roof of your vehicle. Now that may not work for everyone, but if it works for you, that's your best choice because you have solar coming in all the time. If there's sun and you have a panel mounted on the roof, you have solar coming in. And so there are lots of other options, but that's number one. Now, I've always done that. Every vehicle I've ever owned, I've mounted solar panels on the roof. Now, maybe you don't have the ability to mount the panel, you don't have the money to pay someone else, or maybe you just don't have a big enough roof to mount a solar panel on it. That may not work for you, so we're going to provide you with lots of options. But number one, I think by far, is a hard solar panel mounted on your roof. On my car, I have a 300-watt solar panel mounted on my Subaru, and when I had the ambulance, I had 480-watt solar panels, total of 720, mounted on the roof of the ambulance. And so every vehicle, I've done that. On my Subaru, I have roof racks mounted from the factory. A lot of your vehicles are going to have roof racks. And then I just mounted a crossbar and then mounted the solar panels to the crossbar. It was really simple.
Mine hasn't been that easy. And I just want to share that adding the hard solar panel to my vehicle was a game changer. It was life-changing for my nomadic experience. So if you can do that and you're just starting out, I recommend putting the time and energy and money into it. Game changer for me, night and day in terms of frustration with power. I started out in a Nissan Sentra, which is a sedan, and I had a cargo box on the roof rack, so there wasn't room for solar panels. And eventually I just was so frustrated with having to recharge with all of these folding panels and constantly running out of power that I took the cargo box off and I installed the hard solar panel on the car. It was amazing for me. It was horrible for my dog, Chloe. So here's just a little bit of a disclaimer. If you have kind of a very sensitive dog, my dog freaks out if sounds change. And as soon, like immediately when I put the solar panels on the roof, the sound was quite different and she was very scared. So it took a while for her to adjust, months. Okay, so my hard panels, they're 100 watts each. I have 2 of them. They're HQST. I highly recommend them. I'm very happy with the brand. And it looks funny and I don't like the way it looks. However, because Chloe freaked out when the panels were on the roof rack before, I had it professionally installed. So the brackets are mounted, drilled right into the van roof and then waterproofed. And then we took spray foam all around here to create a wind barrier because the wind is what scared Chloe so much. And then the spray foam I painted, but it was just so ugly that, believe it or not, duct tape looked better. So I would like a more aesthetic look, and I am gonna probably do that eventually, but at least Chloe is secure and does not have problems with the noise, which is a huge deal. I did want to show you the cord itself was drilled into the van roof. I had that professionally done, and the whole install was about $200 for my mechanic and Flagstaff. And the cord is drilled in through the roof, and then my mechanic ran it through this like seat belt thing. So the cord is hidden and then runs along the floor of the van to my power station, which is in the back. So it is constantly getting a solar charge anytime that it's in the sun, which is amazing.
So you can see how I mounted my solar panel here. I had the roof rack, and this is just a piece of cedar 1x4 that goes across, and I just U-bolted it on and used L brackets here. And so it was really quite simple. I measured and bought the biggest panel I could fit. This company, this is CheapRV panel, they make a 400, but it was just wouldn't quite fit on. I would love to have had a 400 watt panel. So that's all things you have to consider. But overall, we think a hard panel mounted on the roof is by far your best choice, and the more the better. I mean, if you have a full-sized van, chances are you can get a lot of solar up there and it will meet all your needs.
Yes. So number 2 are folding panels. And basically our consensus, or at least my consensus, was I don't like folding panels. After this video, I'm going to be donating all of mine because the hard panels did the trick. However, if you are maybe part-time digital nomad, or you do part-time nomading as a whole, or maybe you're retired and don't have sort of the power needs that are required in the digital nomad life.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, they work quite well. So our third choice is a generator, either a gas or a propane generator. And that's actually the one that's worked best for you, isn't it?
It has, and it's my new addition. And I will say, I hate the sound of these things, and so I did not want them until the struggle with constantly needing to recharge power became so strong, and the frustration of that I was like, okay, I will pick my poison. I will tolerate the sound of a small inverter generator in order to be able to recharge power. So for me, my go-to is the hard solar panels on the roof. But about once a week, I do run this thing to top everything off. And what I love so much about the gasoline generator over solar is if it's cloudy, even if it's just bad weather, if I'm parked somewhere in thick forests, I don't have to worry or hunt down the ability to recharge my power. I have it with me. And originally, I purchased the generator up in Alaska, and I got a really big one. It was a 4,000 because they didn't have the smaller ones available up there. But by the time I got down here, I was just getting tired of lugging around something that was almost 80 pounds. So this is only 28 pounds. I got it off of Amazon for like $270. So we'll see how good it works. So far, I've been really happy with it. And what I love the most is the fact that I don't have to worry or drive far distances out of my way to plug into an AC outlet. I have an AC outlet right on this gasoline generator.
When you consider which generator to get, one of the things I would really strongly encourage you to consider is getting a dual fuel. For one thing, with the gasoline, you've got to carry gasoline in the vehicle now.
Right, I have it on my cargo hitch carrier, but yes.
Right. So you had to add the cargo hitch carrier to carry this and the gasoline.
Exactly.
So then, of course, that gave you a lot of room for other stuff too, which was very nice.
It did.
And you kind of added a tent, which that kind of allowed.
Right.
So it had a lot of good effects.
It did.
But if at all possible, I would recommend that you pick up a propane generator, because then you don't have to carry around the gasoline. Gasoline smells, it goes bad. If it sits inside your generator, it will gum up and it will make it really hard to start, or you may even have to take it in for service. Propane is cheaper, it's safer, it's just in every way better. Now, the big disadvantage is you got to carry around a 25-pound propane tank. A lot of its advantages go away because now you're carrying around another great big tank and more weight and more space. However, if possible, I do think a dual fuel propane generator is really a good option to consider.
That's what was recommended to me by pretty much anybody who mentioned it, but I just didn't have the space. I have a minivan and a cargo hitch carrier, and so I didn't have the space for the propane. And I really wanted something small, but I will say that is what most people shared, was to go ahead with the propane one. Number 4, an AC outlet. So this requires being connected to the grid. And you can connect to shore power if your Nomadic rig has that set up. I'm in a minivan, so mine doesn't. So sometimes if I go visit my folks, I just pull out my power stations and recharge, because the AC recharging is the fastest way your stations will recharge. It's how it brings in the most power to your power stations. I've done this in cafes, in restaurants, in libraries. I've even gone to city parks and scoped out to see if they had AC outlets just in random buildings, and they have, and I've used those. And that has been a really great way to recharge. And before the generator, I had to hunt down AC outlets in those kind of places if it was really cloudy. So that's why the generators come in so handy.
Something to think about there is just going to an RV park once a week. You go to an RV park, you have access to their bathhouse, you take your shower, you do your laundry, and you recharge all your devices. And so maybe once a week you go into an RV park. Costs you 20, 30 bucks maybe, but you get an awful lot for that 20 or 30 bucks. So it's some people will do that, and it works well for them.
It's a great convenience, yeah.
And our final one is DC charging. Now that would probably be for the majority of you. You will just plug it into your cigarette lighter plug, which is 12 volt DC, and it will charge your power station or whatever it is you're using. And that works just fine. However, the wiring in those things is always very small in the car, and usually, sometimes there are exceptions, but usually the wiring in the power station, it's also very thin, small wiring. And overheating can be a really serious problem. You've run into that.
I've ran into that. So I started out in my Nissan Sentra, and the main way that I charged my power stations, I had a Jackery and an EcoFlow. I plugged them into the cigarette lighters. Well, after about 6 months of doing that all the time, it completely fried my car's 12 volt system beyond the point of repair. I went to 5 different mechanics. Nobody could fix it. And then what ended up happening is a specialty mechanic put in a new 12 volt system, rewired it with thicker gauge wiring. But then when I plugged it in, the heat issue that happened, it melted the cord, the DC cord. So I do not use the cigarette lighter anymore just because of what happened. And I've heard other people share that happens. I don't think these power stations are designed to charge that way all the time. I think they're sort of more designed for part-time and camping trips. So most power stations will sell you a DC charger just like this. And if you're only using it intermittently, you're probably fine. But just know it does run that risk. And that was quite expensive when it burned out my entire 12 volt system.
Yeah, they are not designed for constant use. They're supposed to charge your phone, which is a very low draw, or small devices, not charge your whole household constantly. A much better choice is a DC to DC charger. So my DC to DC charger is made by Blue Eddy, but EcoFlow makes one. Virtually all the power stations now will make a DC to DC charger. I really like the Blue Eddy. I have that video. Go check it out. And it connects to the terminals on your battery, and then it runs a wire, and it comes with this whole kit to do all of this, and then it connects into your power station by an MC4 connector. It's an excellent system. I really, really recommend it. It probably is the best system, is go with a DC to DC charger. The risk, and there's always a disadvantage to all of these different options. The big disadvantage is now you're charging your house off of your car's alternator. Your car's alternator was not built to run a house. So if you're running your whole house off of your vehicle's alternator, you will cause premature damage and destruction. So it will not last as long.
Bob, can I ask you a question about that? And in terms of, for the folks who have a minivan, for example, I have a minivan. I would love the DC to DC charger because as a nomad, we drive a lot. And so if you're able to recharge your power stations when driving, that just seems amazing. If you ran the DC to DC charger pretty much anytime you do a long road trip to recharge all your power, Even if you had to replace the alternator in half its lifespan, would the cost outweigh potentially something like the cost of a generator with gasoline?
You know, it very well still might be your best choice because you're spending a lot and you're going to continue. You're always going to be buying gas or propane or something to run a generator. You're carrying the gas, you're carrying the propane, you're carrying the generator, you're repairing the generator.
Right.
So yeah, it might very well. The way I see it is a great addition to solar. Solar is the foundation of everything, which you've got 200 watts.
Mhm.
And then this is an addition to cover the gaps. And the DC to DC charger is an addition to cover the gaps. Yeah, a DC to DC charger is an excellent choice. I would really, for nearly everyone, it's a very good choice. And they're not that hard to install.
All right, folks, I hope you got something out of this video. I hope it was helpful. And I'm curious to hear, have we missed anything? I think we covered all the ways we have done it throughout our nomadic experience, but have we missed anything? And what works best for you? If you got anything out of this video, hit that thumbs up button, comment below, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time, folks.
Bye.